look at that fucking grey hair. Good lord. I don't know if you can see that. There's a grey hair right there. God damn. Yo, what's good? Yeah, your boy has been away for a couple of days. I've been taking a little break, playing some Valorant, having a nice little time to recharge, thinking about what I want to do with the channel, and just keep rereading the new chapter, because Jujutsu Kaisen 251 just did the unthinkable. Gege just killed my boy. One like equal one prayer for my boy Yuta Okkotsu. Anyways, this chapter has given us a lot of information, so I think it's time that we dived into it all. This video's been a little bit of a, delay, but it's okay. So the first big reveal that we got in this chapter is that Yuta's copy technique isn't completely conditionless, which is kind of new. There's also been a lot of debate and speculation about Yuta's powers and how they work. For a technique that's like Yuta to exist, there's got to be some sort of condition for him to meet for it to work, similar to Crollo from Hunter x Hunter. It turns out Yuta or Rika must just consume a piece of the person they're trying to copy. However, I'm still not fully convinced because of these reasons. Yuta also had Charles's curse technique here, the guy with the clairvoyance, the one that Hakari fought first, and as far as we know, Yuta and Charles have never met, and I'm not entirely sure that he's just going to agree to either Yuta or Rika eating a piece of him. That sentence is really weird to say out loud. So it does leave the conclusion, for me anyway, that any part of the body may be consumed for Yuta's condition to work here, which means blood or a body part. I think this would fit the evidence that we have so far and so entirely. With that being said though, I do think it's safe to assume that Yuta's technique does rely on some sort of consumption, as does most things in Jujutsu Kaisen, which for some reason is really strange. Maybe Gege has like some sort of weird vor fetish or something. Don't Google that. Don't Google that. But this also solves the problem of Sukuna's final finger, because I know a popular theory here was Nobara was going to come back and renaissance that motherfucker, but honestly, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. However, I do see Yuji and Yuta laying quite possibly the worst beating on Sukuna I've seen since my dad with the belt. Wait, I mean the worst beating I've seen since Mahito getting his ass whooped by Yuji and Nanami. And I mean it when I say this. Yuji and Yuta have that dog, because Yuji comes in with a uppercut from God's righteous hands himself. Yuta hits Sukuna in his funky little mouth thing here with the shut the fuck up plus ratio. And Sukuna gets introduced to Yuji's kneecap at Mark 18 or some shit. And while Sukuna is literally blowing Yuji's stomach out, pause. Jesus Christ, pause. Yuji says, yeah, now we ain't done here, and spits blood into this dude's face. That's disgusting. Now, normally, I'd be like, damn, that is fucking disgusting. That's pretty brutal, but it's Sukuna. And honestly, that motherfucker he's earned that spit to the face. I'm just going to keep it a stack with you. However, I do think it's worth pointing out here that Yuji got his stomach absolutely erased here. Not just once, but twice by Sukuna here. Now, I'm wondering how much cursed energy Yuji has, or how efficient he is with the whole RCT thing, because as far as we're aware, RCT is pretty fucking difficult to pull off here. So my working theory here is that he's either a slight CE boost from the cursed worms that he's apparently eaten, or his efficiency with CE comes from being the host of Sukuna, essentially, and also him just being steeped in cursed energy from Sukuna. We know Yuji is a fast learner. The brother is learning shit at record speed, so it kind of does make me wonder if every time Yuji was suppressed by Sukuna, Yuji was able to sort of subconsciously learn what Sukuna was throwing out there. I'm not entirely sure. However, this beating has put Sukuna into even more of a pickle, because he states his cursed energy output and his control of the body is weakening quite a bit, which we'll circle back around to a little bit later here. But while he's thinking about this, Rika grabs a hold of this man and ragdolls him into Yuji, so Yuji can hit him with the Manji kick, which is a nice little throwback to the Mahito fight in Shibuya. It's a pretty cool reference from Gege there, I have to say. I also will say that the choreography for this fight was truly something special. Gege has done a phenomenal job at coordinating Yuji, Yuta, and Rika in an effective manner against Sukuna. So while Sukuna is getting his ass handed to him here, he's decided, fuck it, it is time to get serious here. And in doing so, Sukuna decides that the best course of action here is for him to undo the hollow wicker basket, and he decides to just simply tank the effect of Jacob's ladder. Now, this is kind of a desperate gamble here to fire off the world slash, and it leads to Yuta and Yuji recognizing the attempts, and they saying, yo, hey brother, we don't do that kind of shit around here. They scramble to secure all of Sukuna's ligaments and arms and hemorrhages, and I don't know what words I'm saying here, but they scramble to stop him from doing all of this and being able to chant curses and hand signs, and Yuta ends up ripping the tongue out of Sukuna's stomach, which is a sentence I never really thought I'd say, but it's also an interesting tactic, which definitely works for sure. Kind of. We'll go back to that in a second. But as this all happens, Sukuna tries to cleave Yuta's head off in this panel right here. However, it doesn't work. You see, due to this fight and due to Yuji's attacks and Gojo's previous efforts, Sukuna's slashes are losing their effectiveness, meaning Yuta can just tag them and heal them and get right back into the fight with no problems at all. And with this, Yuta decides that he can get in close and personal without the fear of Sukuna's slashes. And it's important to also note here that Sukuna is caught off guard quite a few times during this fight and in this chapter, which is only a good sign for both of Yuji and Yuta, but it's also mildly concerning sometimes as well, because you know how Gege writes, right? But a prime example of Sukuna being caught off guard here comes right now, with Yuji revealing he has blood manipulation, which is a massive reveal. It's not outright stated on the panels here, but it is kind of implied. But I do have a theory about it. Yuji makes the blood that he spat onto Sukuna's face explode, which means Yuji is quite possibly dual-wielding chaos techniques. This brother is going akimbo with the chaos techniques right now. However, I do also want to point out something. The way Gege has drawn these particular panels right here, he has drawn lines across Sukuna's face. Now, the way Yuji activates this attack is similar to how Sukuna throws his slashes, which makes me wonder if Sukuna has confused Yuji using blood manipulation here for his actual own slashes. So that's maybe a bit of a crackpot theory here, but I'm just going off the way it's drawn, the way it's depicted to us. But let me know in the comments below what you think about that little theory there. But Yuta carries on his attack and slices Sukuna's arm clean off, which leads us into a nice little flashback featuring the beautiful Book of Souls that Yuki had passed on to Choso to give on to Yuji. It's a bit of a mouthful. Anyway, this little segment here gives us a lot of information about the soul. Now, if you've been around this channel long enough, then you know I have been more waiting for information about the soul. But he says, even if souls, they mix together, to some degree, they will never ever become one. And this goes back to Kenjaku getting choked by Geto. I think that kind of ties it up nicely, because we know obviously Kenjaku had been in that body for a little while here, but they never become one. So even though they're mixed together, even Kenjaku said I suddenly started acting like him, and Geto's obviously fighting back. I like that Gege's sort of like kind of calling back to it, but also kind of not. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just crackpot theory in here. However, Choso goes on to ask maybe Yuji and Sukuna are a special cause, because he can't feel a trace of his host. Now remember, Choso is someone who is reincarnated through a body that he basically took over. I mean, I don't think he had a choice in it, to be fair. I'm pretty sure Mahis was just going around feed worms into people, which is kind of brutal. But Yuji goes on to say that seems to be due to the overwhelming gap in cursed energy between cursed objects and non-sorcerers, which makes me even more suspicious about Yuji's origins here, because Sukuna was seemingly able to take over Yuji with ease, but then Yuji simply just said nuh-uh, and Uno reversed that motherfucker, which would then mean Yuji had more cursed energy reserves than we've been led to believe. If that's the case, either that or there are more mysteries that we need to figure out here. However, the group go on to talk about the plan to save Megumi, and in summary here, things aren't really looking too good for the gang unless they can separate Sukuna and Megumi's souls, which is imperative to their mission here. If Yuji can ruin the synchronicity between Sukuna and Megumi, then they have a chance to win by using Jacob's ladder that Yuta has obviously copied here, which is exactly what happens. Kind of. Yuta, Rika, and Yuji all managed to hold Sukuna in place long enough for Yuta to activate the Jacob's ladder effect. It is a maximum technique, and he absolutely fucking fries Sukuna, and it looks like this brother is getting turned into crispy fried Sukuna at this point. But it wasn't enough, because Yuta then carries on and stabs Sukuna in the arm, in the bicep, and then slices down the arm, which made me feel incredibly uncomfortable, the fact that he would just have like an arm flapping about like that in two. But anyway, the cherry on top here is that Yuji lands a full clean hit right on Sukuna, which typically in JJK means everything is going downhill. Fantastic. You can see Yuji finally comes face to face with Megumi. However, everything Sukuna has put Megumi through, this man, he has no will to fight, no will to live, nothing to give up for anymore. He has nothing left to give for this fight. Remember, Megumi's whole purpose, pretty much within the series, was to figure out what put Sumiki into the coma and help her. And since Sukuna's arrived, he's caused the death of many people Megumi cares about, and even made Megumi watched as he killed the man who basically acted as a father figure for him, and then also watch as he brutally murdered his sister, who he's tried so hard to save. So yeah, I think it's safe to say this brother is just completely and utterly broken right now. Megumi has officially just given up, and I genuinely don't blame him. I I don't blame him. But this is where these fucking words appear on the panel, which is honestly, I've got to be honest and say, these words are more terrifying than the words open nowadays. It seems Sukuna was somehow still able to activate the world slash without using hand signs, and he lets that bad boy loose on Yuta, Yuji, and Rika. Now, Yuta seems to have been the main target of this slash here, and he seems to have been slashed fully in half, following the footsteps of his sensei Gojo here. However, I am fully convinced he is not dead. I'll dive into that in another video because this one's already getting a little bit juicy. But my quick thoughts on that theory is Rika will somehow be able to heal Yuta, or failing that, Yuta can fully manifest Rika, because I still believe Rika hasn't been fully manifested within this domain, and heal from the reserve of cursed energy she's been storing for him. But the damage done to Yuta ends up crumbling the domain. That has given Sukuna a lot of trouble. And it's also worth noting here that Yuji is also slashed up here, but the cuts only fully go through Yuta. Rika is still fully intact. We don't see any body parts or limbs or any of these cuts go right the way through her. And again, the gauntlets that Yuji are wearing are just completely safe. They're not slashed at all. So I'm fully convinced that these gauntlets can't be harmed by Sukuna. And I'm also convinced that Yuji is also a lot more immune to Sukuna's attacks because it's his own cursed energy. However, ultimately, it is not all sunshine and rainbows for my boy Sukuna here, because none other than Maki fucking Zenin appears from the Shadow Realm to stab Sukuna in the back, which, according to the narrator, is something Sukuna should have been able to easily dodge here, but just simply wasn't able to. And I remember tweeting this out months ago. I think it was like back in November at some point, how Gege would bring Maki back into the story to backstab Sukuna in the exact same way Toji did it to Gojo. These heavenly restriction users are always fucking up the strongest within the vibes. They're always fucking them up. Now, if this fight goes anything like Gojo versus Toji Part 1 did, then we're about to see Maki run the ones with Sukuna, kill him, and then possibly see some sort of Sukuna awakened form or near-death moment that leads him to heal and get back up again, which ties into my theory of I think Sukuna is going to end up leaving the body of Megami and then taking over the body of Tengen, thinking, fuck it, I don't want to die yet. I want to carry on beefing. I want to carry on squabbling with these kids. But anyway, Chapter 251 was absolutely juicy. There was a lot of information to get through and break down, and in this chapter, I think it's generally unreal. I love chapters like this that give us a lot of meat and potatoes and a lot of juice to deal with here. There was also a lot of action in here. But anyway, that's everything from me. Consider supporting me on Patreon for exclusive videos and behind-the-scenes stuff and first looks into everything that I'm planning out for the channel. But as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much love, big fucking kisses, peace.